Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome back to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is Adversity to Awesome. What inspired me to come up with this show? It's in alignment with my new book, Adversity to Awesome, that's available as of May the 5th on Amazon. You can go and pre-order it today. So we are going to be talking with Sadie Marie today. We are going to be exploring many different subjects that sometimes are a little taboo. People don't want to talk about what happens when you get divorced. Sadie Marie has her own podcast, and she's going to share her journey from being divorced to where she is today and how she started this fabulous podcast and what you can expect when you listen. All right. Hello, Sadie Marie. Welcome.
Hello from Minnesota. It is snowing here. Can you believe it?
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. I'm sorry to hear that.
I know. I'm nice to be with you today. You're a bright spot for my snowy Friday here in Minnesota.
Well, I'm here in beautiful, sunny Florida, so I feel badly.
That's wonderful.
So, Sadie Marie, thank you so much for coming back to the platform. I really appreciate it. I interviewed you. I think we were rapping with Dr. JACALYN at the time.
Yes, we had such a juicy chat. It was so fun.
We sure did. And I think you were on the dating show. Isn't that right?
I was, yes. Lots to say about dating after divorce. So, yes, it was fun.
Perfect. We're going to get into that. So I would love for you to share with our audience that has not met you. They're listening for the first time, maybe just to us, and they want to get to know you. Who is Sadie Marie? And tell us why you started this fabulous podcast that you have.
Sure. Well, I like to identify myself as someone who kind of lives outside of the box. I'm a mother of two. I'm a creative woman. I'm a connector, and I'm someone who, after my divorce, was really focused on how my act 2, life after divorce, was going to be filled with happiness, because I had been in such a challenging place for so many years internally, and it had really affected my external world. So I was excited after my divorce to just focus on refilling that cup for myself to have a happier life, which through that, I learned about this fun stage I'd love to talk to your audience about, called the honeymoon stage. I don't know if you knew we have more than one honeymoon stage, and it doesn't necessarily involve a romantic partner. But my honeymoon stage was really a catalyst for me to want to talk more publicly about happiness that I experienced after divorce.
And, being that I'm divorced myself, we go through a lot of things that if you're not divorced, never been divorced, you probably can't even imagine.
Right.
There's that sense of, wow, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with the other person? What am I supposed to do now?
Right.
Why aren't my friends talking to me? I wasn't managing the money. Now I'm going to, there's so many different things, so many different aspects.
Right. And it can feel really daunting, and it also can feel really empowering. It depends on how you're probably viewing yourself. I think for me, because I felt so alive again after my divorce, and that was my specific journey. Everybody has their own experience. But because I felt so alive again, I had a lot of positivity that touched all those pieces. So I felt excited to manage my own finances. Some days I don't feel as excited as I used to, but that was my initial experience after divorce. I felt excited to rediscover myself and reconnect with old friends and create new relationships. So, the adversity that you experience when you're going through a divorce, really, if you can allow yourself to see it as a new beginning and a new chapter and reconnecting with parts of yourself that you had lost. I mean, it's really it can be, if you choose it to be, a life-giving time. And so for me now, 3.5 years out of my divorce, I'm realizing again, Dr. JACALYN, that I need to tap back into that honeymoon stage mentality where I was just so excited about everything going on around me, because it's easy to lose that experience when things aren't as new, right? I think when things are new for us, we do have that like invigorating feeling. But I know that I can always reconnect with that energy if I make certain choices. And one is to really get back in touch with myself. It all starts with me and how I view the world around me. And my divorce has really reinforced that. Life after divorce has really reinforced that. If something is off if something going on in my world is off, it's because probably something internally is not how it needs to be.
Yes, I agree with you. And in some ways, I know for me, I've been divorced a long time, since 99, I think. It's very liberating. I actually went to Paris for 10 days by
Mm,
myself
I
and
love
had
that.
a party.
I love
S-
that.
But there are people who look at it in a very different way. I don't have any
Yeah,
children. And some people, when you have children or you're used to being in the same group of friends and you do things together, and then of course one of the partners in the friendship is like, we can't be friends with that
right.
person, or it's
It
a
does
big
happen.
change.
It does
Yes.
happen. It can be a big change. I think one thing I really have learned since my divorce is how critical not only my relationship is with myself, but also with others around me. I just did a podcast episode called Friends with Benefits. And it's not the benefits that you're thinking of. It's nothing being romantic or sexual at all. It's really recognizing how beneficial old friends, new friends, the friends that have been with you through thick or thin are in your life after divorce. So I encourage anyone who's listening, if you're going through a divorce, really, really invest into the friends that have your back. And when you get through on the other side of divorce, allow yourself to do some meetups, try some new things. I live in Minnesota, like I shared earlier, and I started to learn how to knit. I know, very spicy, but knitting has benefits in many ways. It's relaxing, and also you get to create something, which I love to do. But I've decided this winter, I'm going to do a meetup and meet some master knitters, and I'm sure they will teach me many things. So I think it's really allowing yourself to broaden your world and not being afraid. Like, you have something to offer the world. And I think after divorce, like you said, we can kind of be beaten up inside. So taking that time and space to really connect with yourself. What do you love to do with just yourself? I love to do anything in nature by myself. I can go for a walk for hours and be completely content. I don't need any companionship. So allowing yourself to really reconnect with yourself, however that looks for you, and then allowing yourself to branch out and meet new people. And that's been a huge gift. I was just in New York City, and I met up with several guests that were on my podcast, and just making those new relationships with people and who've had a similar journey, not quite the same, but similar. It just really allows you to not feel alone when you can feel really alone after divorce.
Yes, you definitely can. And you can also feel reborn when you
Freeing.
take the time to get to know yourself.
Yes, I
And
love that. Mhm.
And many times we're wearing different hats in our relationship, in our marriage. And then we have to look in the mirror and say, oh my gosh, who am I now? I've been
Right,
playing the part of for so long. And
right,
yet at the same time, it's invigorating and exciting because you can put on any new hats that you want. It's just a
right.
matter of taking that time to get to know who you are, what you like, what you don't like. Maybe you were tolerating some things
Mm.
because that was what the other person wanted, and now you get to take this time for yourself. So would you say, Sadie Marie, that you are happy today?
Yeah, I think happiness for me has really changed in its definition. I think before my divorce, my happiness was really about what was going on outside of me. If I was doing well with my business, if I was having exciting things to look forward to, if I was, meeting people that were leading me down a path where I felt would lead to more success with my career. But I think what I've really learned is that happiness for me really starts, and again, I've said this earlier in the episode, and I say it a lot on my podcast, but it really starts within. And so one thing that I have noticed in the last few months, just with my own life, because things cycle, right? Life is fluid, life isn't static, is that I am not feeling as much happiness. No, I think it's partly because of the weather, Dr. JACALYN. It's been a long winter here in Minnesota. We're all just a little on edge. But I think it's really recognizing that I'm trying to do a lot outside of myself and make my world bigger, but that's depleting me. And I'm really having to own, like, you've done this before. Like, the more that you put out, you still have to give that back. And so it's recognizing that happiness is when you can love yourself enough to say, yeah, I have needs too. I have boundaries too. I'm not a robot. I have limits, and that's okay. It's really allowing yourself to be human and to have the ability to say, I need to slow down. And it doesn't mean that I'm less than. It doesn't mean if I can't, do all these tasks within a week that I'm less of a human. I still have great worth. And I think my happiness now is realizing my worth, and that loving myself is just as important as the love that I put out into the world, and that what I produce and create is not my full identity and my full source of worth and satisfaction, like I used to think before I got divorced.
I really appreciate your authenticity there, because not every day is a great day. We don't,
No.
And when the weather isn't nice, yes, that can be really upsetting and put us in a dark place. But we learn how to get out of that dark
Right.
place
Right.
and focus on other things. So, a question I have for you is, in my experience, I've known many people who've gotten divorced, obviously. And if I just generalize, which I'm going to, I
Sure.
find that the men want to get right back into a
They
relationship.
do.
Can't be alone, got to find somebody. And the women are like, whoa, I have all this time to myself and I don't have to be picking up after you and listening to you. So, what have you found in your own life as well as the people that you interview?
Well, I think what really something that I feel passionate about, and I've talked a lot about on my podcast, is that culturally, men are not given permission to be emotional beings, and women are not given permission to be sexual beings. I think now when you're in midlife, you just decide, I'm going to choose this for myself. But growing up, I was very conditioned to be a good girl. And I know my brother was very conditioned to be kind of a stoic man, especially in Midwestern culture. I don't know about the South where you live, but I know a lot of men are just conditioned to be not emotional, to not have that experience. And I think men after divorce, they lose that connection to their ability to express themselves emotionally, because their partner was probably a source for that. And so they don't know what to do because they don't have the skills to do that with each other. Again, I'm generalizing like you were earlier, but I think a lot of men who are listening would be nodding their heads right now, because they aren't given permission to be emotional beings, which really limits us from being fully human, right? So one thing after my divorce that you talked about being bolder after divorce is I decided I was really going to own my sexuality and my sexual experiences and not have that shame of talking about it candidly, which is I started the Red Room experience, and it's a safe place for women, like-minded women who want to talk more openly and candidly about being sexual beings, and it's playful. It's like a book club, but more delicious. And so again, I think we need to stop limiting our human experience. And I think divorce has really been, again, a catalyst for me to talk more candidly about how that really limits us as individuals and how we perceive ourselves, but it also really limits our relationships. And so when we can give each other permission to be human and to have all the layers, we're much happier, aren't we?
Yes, definitely. And before the show, I had gone to your website and I saw the Red Room, and I thought, wow, that is really cool. And it's at a price point that is affordable for people. So,
Very affordable.
uh,
Yes.
what are you finding is coming out of the discussions that are taking place there?
Well, we just started last month and we're meeting every third Wednesday. So you can come this month. We have our
Okay.
first guest sexpert, Dr. Iana Ferguson. She's based in Atlanta. And what I love about her is she can handle all the awkward questions. She loves fielding the awkward bedroom questions. So she's been on my show in the past. And again, her mantra is pleasure is our birthright. It's not something we have to earn. It's not something that we have to be ashamed about. It's our birthright to have sexual pleasure. And I was never given permission to have that as a young woman. And so now for my act two, like I'm absolutely giving myself permission and all women permission to have that experience. Just like I want men to have emotional connection and emotional friendships where they have that compatibility on an emotional level. So the Red Room is fantastic. The first meeting, we just dove right in. We're reading a book that has been a good platform. It's entitled Come As You Are. Highly recommend the book. It's very eye-opening just on how media has perceived like the female body, and it's not accurate. So I don't know how detailed I can be about that on this show today, but check out the book. Check out the book. It's very kind of jaw-dropping. And so we just had this really great candid conversation about how we are just really needing to have more spaces to have honest conversation about our sexuality as women, because again, we've just been conditioned to think pleasure is for someone else, happiness is for someone else. We're always giving, putting out, but we're not receiving. And it's time women get to receive, and men too, in different ways.
Good points. And Sadie Marie, I remember from when I interviewed you before, I know that you are open to talk about sexuality, sexual
Yes.
pleasure. And I don't have any problem talking about it either, but there are plenty of people who do. And it's interesting. It's like, I can't talk about that. Why would you bring that up? Because it's part of life, right? It's natural. It's animals are doing it in the wild.
Right, exactly. I mean, our sexual health and all the levels of sexual health is critical to our happiness. And being able to, that's why, the term sex positivity is so on trend now, and body positivity. I think we're just tired of feeling ashamed. Like, I'm a sexual being, the way that I look is perfect and lovely, and really owning it. There's a lot of power when you can just say, this is me. This is what I desire. This is what I'm about. This is what I'm wanting and needing. It's very powerful. And having more open conversations about sexuality leads, in my opinion, to feeling more powerful in other ways in your life.
Absolutely. And I feel like when you're able to talk about all of this, I mean, you're coming from a place of confidence.
Yes.
And not fear, and
Right.
not concern about what someone else thinks about how you feel about sexuality, your own sexuality, whatever that looks like or whatever that means. And some people are really put off by it. And I feel like it's something that could be an indication of work that the person needs to do in their own life to explore, why do I feel so uncomfortable when these topics are being brought up?
I think that's a deep conditioning. I mean, I was raised the daughter of a Lutheran pastor. I wasn't allowed to think about sex outside of if I was married. Sex was really a taboo topic. But I think with younger generations, I know we're both Gen Xers, and I think with millennials, especially with Gen Zs, I mean, they have just such a different attitude, don't you think, around sexuality, that is really shifting how we are now able to talk about it. And you and I are benefiting from that. You and I are benefiting from the younger generation's comfort with sexuality, because now it's just, there is more space to discuss about, talk about orgasms and talk about toys in the bedroom and solo play and all of these things. I mean, I didn't even know, Dr. JACALYN, what kink was when I was married. That's how repressed I was sexually. And I just did an Instagram live with one of the Red Room sexperts. Her name is Sylvie B, and she is the queen of kink, and she's going to be in the Red Room in May. It's going to be very delicious. And she and I had such a great Instagram live about the thousands of ways that you can be kinky, because I think, again, we attach that word to a certain type of interaction like BDSM, which that's one layer, but being kinky can mean that you like a bubble bath with calm music. I mean, it's just so vast, right? And until we educate ourselves, we just limit our own experience in so many ways in life, not just sexuality. But I think, being divorced has made me really bold around how I want to talk about sex, because I am a sexual being, and it's fun.
Absolutely. Just one thing I want to clarify. I wish I was a Gen X. I'm actually a boomer. I just turned 59.
Oh, well, boomers, Gen X, we're all benefiting from the younger generations around these topics, which is fantastic. And kudos to them. thank you to them.
Definitely. And I want to say hello to a friend who hasn't been here in a long time. Hi, Mitchell. How are you? Been too long? Yes. And I'm divorced 3 times. I am an expert, question mark.
So you have a lot of great lessons learned that you could share and really benefit other people who have gone through that experience.
Here's his other comment. We live in a 140 character sexual world these days. Wipe right, get laid tonight. That's pretty funny.
That's funny.
It is funny. So, a question I have for you, because as I mentioned, I've been divorced for a long time and I'm not dating because this is what I'm doing 24/7 and I
Yeah.
choose this. But so, what is the dating world like today? Mitchell just, with his comment, it's based on physical connection, immediate chemistry. I want to jump in bed with you. What have
Sure.
you found?
Well, I mean, I've had many stages when it comes to dating, Dr. JACALYN. And I know I shared this on the other episode, but when I was freshly divorced, I mean, it was like being a kid in a candy store, the swiping and, it was just such a new experience. And I had never really allowed myself prior to my divorce to just date casually, just to go on dates without the intention of getting married. I mean, I was in my 20s. I think a lot of women from my generation and the boomers as well, like we were so conditioned, like you date to get married. You don't date for pleasure. You don't date just to have a fun Friday night, right? You have a mission. And so I was freed of that mission, which was fantastic. And so I just had a great season or 2 or 3 where I could just be myself, and the stakes were so low, and I really really loved that time in my life, and I learned a lot. I dated, the type of man that I was attracted to had really changed since my divorce, and I was just really enjoying learning about men from different cultures and different parts of the country. I dated a lot of, and I still do date men from other cities, so it just really broadened my world to not take dating I guess so seriously like I had. But now I'm in a space where I am wanting more deeper connections. So it's an interesting place to be in because I'm not seeking marriage. I'm not dating to get married, but I'm dating to have connection. And I think one thing I've learned about myself, especially, is that there are more things about me that I need to heal and work through if I really actually want more of a committed relationship. Because I think I read a caption on Instagram recently where love will trigger you. And it definitely has. And I think that, part of the journey in my love story is love yourself so much, that you can receive love. I think for so long, I have not been ready to receive love because divorce was traumatic. That type of experience was traumatic. And I've some way in shape or form been protecting myself from being hurt again, being vulnerable. But when you're vulnerable, that's where the gold is, don't you think? I do. And I have found that in the last year of my dating, where I've been more vulnerable with men, it's really benefited me versus just leaving the relationship because it was too daunting to continue on to being, more authentic with what I was really needing and feeling and desiring. I think I've also learned through dating that I did not know what I needed when I was married. I had no idea what I needed emotionally. And instead of knowing my needs, I felt disappointed all the time. And it wasn't really fair to my partner, my ex at the time, because he's not a mind reader. And so I've really learned, like, I need to know myself. I really need to know myself and what I'm really wanting and needing in relationships if I want something more committed, more lasting. But dating has been a lot of fun. So I highly recommend when you go through a divorce, just treat yourself to having dating being just a fun activity. Try not to take yourself too seriously. Laugh things off, find the humor, buy some cute outfits for the guys, buy some cute shirts and just like adore on yourself during that season. And don't worry about other people's opinions of you or if they want a second date or anything like that. Just have fun with it. And also allow yourself to just really sit with, what do I need from relationships? What do I really want now? What am I really looking for? And when you do that work, it's really empowering, because then you can start receiving instead of just giving.
So thank you for sharing that. When you start off in the dating world after you've been with one person, in many cases, people have been together for decades, right? Or maybe
Right.
it's a short marriage that didn't last. But then there's that whole issue of having sex with a new person. And some people are really freaked out about it,
Right.
and don't have the conversation up front with the other person to share where they're coming from. And then just from what girlfriends have shared with me, that it gets to be awkward, and then they can't
Right.
date the guy again because it didn't go so well. So what are your
Right.
thoughts about that? Sex with the next partner, the new partner?
Well, again, it's really asking yourself, what do I want to experience? Do I just want a one night casual, evening of fun? Am I wanting more of a relationship? And knowing what you're wanting, then you're going to make maybe different choices. You might, if you're wanting more of a relationship, you might not just have sex on the first date. So I think it's really knowing what you're wanting and being able to communicate with a partner, like, I'm really looking for this, I'm really wanting this. When it comes to feeling more comfortable in the bedroom, I recommend, and I know a lot of the sexperts that I've interviewed on my podcast, learn how to pleasure yourself. Learn what you like allow yourself. I never allowed myself, I call it solo play, but I never allowed myself to have solo play in my marriage. And now for me, that is always a sure thing. I always know that I'm going to enjoy evenings with myself. Maybe that sounds silly to a listener, but I think women, again, we have not been given permission to pleasure ourselves, maybe in ways that men have. And by doing that and practicing that and getting really comfortable with my own body, it's just really been a positive way to then connect with partners and saying, oh, I like this, do this, try this. The more comfortable you are with yourself emotionally, sexually, financially, it's just going to benefit you with all the relationships in your life.
And it definitely saves a lot of frustration, literally and
Right. I mean,
figuratively.
I think at this stage in life, you know, certain experiences don't do what they used to do, right?
Mhm.
And you need another layer, like a toy of some sort to finish it off, so to speak. And that is just fine. And if your partner isn't comfortable with that, that has nothing to do with you. That is to do with his or her own level of comfort. But I think having those conversations, once you get to know someone more deeply, they're a lot of fun. I mean, I've had so much fun talking with different partners about bedroom fun and how creative we can be. But that takes a level of comfort. You don't just jump into that conversation on a first date. So again, it's knowing what you want out of dating, knowing what you want when it comes to your sexual experiences with partners. I think casual sex is great if that's what you want. If it's not what you want, it's going to lead to a lot of disappointment and frustration. But if it's what you want, just be clear about it. Know that.
Yes, and make sure the other person's on the same page,
Right,
so
right.
then you have some.
Communicate.
Yes. We've got a couple of comments from Mitchell. My wife, Jerry, advises midlife single men to date widows. They don't hate men. Been working for them. All right. Thank you. And date a lot so you know what you don't want. Then the remaining field will be in focus.
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
dating, I would frame that differently. I would date a lot to learn more about yourself and what you need. Focus on what you want, not what you don't want. I just energetically, that just feels better to me.
And now here's another question I have about dating. Then we're going to take a quick break.
Sure.
So I remember way back, I was dating on Match.com, not a paid spokesperson. And I met this guy and we had this really great conversation, it seemed like. And of course, in my mind, I'm immediately going through, oh, do I think I can have sex with him? Because let's be honest, because if you can't, it's like, forget it. So I was like, oh, okay, yes. So he then turned to me and said, listen, I've been having a really great time. Let's see, we were there for an hour. He said, but I'm going to end the date right now. And I said, why? And he said, well, you're too old for me.
Oh my goodness.
And in one way, I was really hurt, but in another way, I was happy that he just came forward, because why would we waste any more time, either one of
Right.
us, pretending?
Now, was he able to connect with you prior to physically meeting? Isn't that something he could have learned prior to asking you out? What his
I know. Well, you see the pictures, and I said what my age was, and he said that I didn't look my age, but that he wants to date women in their 20s. So I said, "What you knew, I wasn't in my 20s."
right? Oh, that was he dropped the ball. He
Yeah.
dropped
So,
the ball
but
on
my
that.
point is, what are your thoughts about, do you spend the whole dinner with the person,
Mm.
or do you just come out and say, "Hey, you know what? We're not going to have dessert because I'm out of here."
I just had a situation where I was in a first date way longer than I wanted to be. And I kept thinking, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of this? And afterwards, I talked to one of my girlfriends who's a relationship coach. And she said, all you need to do, and such great advice, I'll definitely practice this next time, is, say you're 45 minutes in and you're not feeling it. You can just say, this feels kind of off to me. This just feels funky to me. It doesn't feel, I don't feel like we're syncing. Do you feel that way? And they can say yes or no, but you still feel that way. It's like, well, I just don't see this progressing, but thank you so much. I mean, you can be, again, I think it's giving yourself permission to take care of yourself. You don't have to take care of that other person on the date. You don't have to be rude or inappropriate like this gentleman, it feels like he was to you. That was uncalled for. He could have done his homework better, been more direct before the date. My goodness. But you don't have to take care. I think, again, we're so conditioned as women, especially, like, oh, I have to take care of this person. I can't be rude to this person. I have to make sure, no, 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 no. You can just say, this feels kind of off to me. After 45 minutes to an hour and it's just not flowing, you get to go. So I'm going to get
Yes.
better at that, Dr. JACALYN. I'm going to report back.
Good. I like that.
I know, right?
I remember the last date that I was on, which is a few years ago. The guy we met at a restaurant, we're sitting in a bar, and he took out his phone, and he was on his phone the entire time showing me pictures. He must have shown me like 50 pictures. This is my house. This is my boat. This is my car. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I didn't ask for you to go through all of those pictures. I'd like to get to know you. So
Right.
I ended the date, and I told him specifically why. I said, I'm here to get to know you. And obviously, you feel like you need to show me all these things because this defines you in some,
Right.
that car, that boat, that house. And I said, but I'm not interested in your bank account or how much real estate you owe. Oh, and so I left, and he called me a couple of days later, and he actually thanked me because he
Good.
said he was wondering why women were not wanting a second date with him. So I think the point is, you have to be genuine and not be a caretaker for someone you just met.
Absolutely. And also, I think that what I've learned too on all the dates I've been on is that men and women, we just really communicate differently. I'm sure that's just blows your mind that I just said that right now. But I mean, what I've learned is men, I think in their circle of friends, they just kind of talk at each other. They just share information. They're not, women were so conditioned, again, to give and receive. And you say something and I listen, and then you ask me a question and I share. And we have this nice rhythm. And I don't think men communicate that way. So when we go on these dates, we're just so confused by how the other communicates. I mean, I guess on some level, this guy, probably what he was doing with you is what he would do with his guy friends. And they're not gonna, okay, whatever. They're not wanting this like emotional connection with him. And
Yes.
so I think that, again, if men were given more permission in our culture to learn how to communicate in a way that shows emotional connection, shows interest in another human, we'd all be better off. But we have conditioned men to not really have that skill. And it's a skill that you and I have practiced our whole lives. So we're way ahead of the game. And so one thing I've done on dates when I notice that happening, when a guy, maybe he's nervous or he's just in that zone where he's just telling me information, I have actually said, I'm enjoying learning so much about you and A, B, or C, but I'm curious, like, what do you want to learn about me? I mean, we're on a date. And then usually, I kind of get a deer in the headlights type of look, but then men typically are able to shift and then ask questions. But I think it's giving giving each other some grace, knowing that we practice conversation differently, but also at the same time, not so much so that we're just taking care of the other person and we're miserable in the experience. So it's kind of that balance.
Yeah, that's a good point. And what you said really just made me think of something. I remember being on several dates again years ago where the guy just wouldn't stop talking about himself. And I'm thinking, are you ever going to ask anything about me? Because why would you even want to see me another minute if you
You're
have
not
no
alone in
interest?
that. You're not alone in that experience. I think every woman has had that experience. And again, I think that then you leave a date and you feel discouraged because it feels personal, doesn't it?
It
Like, why would
does.
you want to ask? I'm fabulous. Like, I'm Dr. Jacqueline. Look, I mean, come on. I look like I'm in my 30s. Like, come on. I mean, right? And you leave and you leave feeling defeated and it feels personal. And so then when I feel that way, I'm like, okay, I have to remember, like, I have to have some empathy
Yes.
for the other gender, and the male bashing doesn't help. It doesn't change the fact that men have not been given permission to be as emotionally intelligent, connected to their emotions as women have. Just like men, I mean, men are so much further along, in my opinion, on the whole sexual experiences. Like when I've talked about things that I've now experienced in my late 40s, men are like, yeah, I did that, done that, did that. Like, that's this old hat to them. I'm like, what? You know, like, I'm just doing this now. And, like, and I think it's that same way with communication and intimacy. I mean, I've done podcast episodes with men about men and their emotions, and they're like, yeah, we're finally at this stage in life saying we want to be more emotionally intelligent and available, but that doesn't just happen. I mean, you have to practice these things, right? So it is such but yet we keep going, we keep trying. I mean, look at all the dating apps out there. So clearly we haven't given up yet.
For sure. We have another comment from Mitch. Men need to be more expressive these days. Same for the last 200 years. Yes. Thank you, Mitchell. And one of our team members here at USA Global TV, Roland Friedel, he actually has started a club for men, and there's several different branches of it across the world, so that men have a safe place to come and share their emotions. Because what we've been discussing here, they've been told, don't cry, don't show your emotions, go make the money, go bring in the bacon,
or just have sex with a woman. She's just,
yeah,
just see women as a means of sex, and that's it. Like, so limiting. Our culture has limited men. Really, it's been a detriment to all of us how we've limited men.
Definitely. So I'm glad to see that there are.
What's the name of this group, though? I want to hear more about this group that Mitchell started.
No, so this is Roland Friedel.
Oh, Roland, my apologies.
Yes,
Roland.
it's okay.
Thank
Roland,
you.
it's interesting. He lived on the island of Mallorca for years, and a couple of days ago, after spending a month packing up his place, he got in his RV and he's driving across Europe for the next year, living in an RV. So
fun. I would love to talk to him more about this group. So
yeah, I'll connect it to you. I love connecting people. And we're actually here on USA Global TV. We're starting a program that is a program for men's topics by men, with men, led by men. So Roland's leading that, and we're starting one for women here. So it's interesting. We've got another comment. Thanks, Mitchell. Let's see. G2G. Is that got to go, I guess. Great topic and host. Catch up soon. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Sadie Marie, I would love for you to just share a little bit more about the Red Room, and for people to know that this is someplace that they can go and express themselves, and they're not going to be judged. They're going to meet some new people, and you've got a great host guests. This guest you just mentioned, she's an author, right?
Well, we're reading a book called Come As You Are. And so it's just a platform. It's a way to have a conversation around sexuality. But really, the juicy, spicy part is that every month we have a sexpert who comes into the room. And so, as I shared earlier, Dr. Ione Ferguson from Atlanta, Georgia, is our guest. And she is going to talk about ways that women can learn how to pleasure their bodies independent of a partner, with a partner. She has an MLS technique, which is, you have to come to the Red Room to learn about it. She's going to teach us how to find our G spot.
Whoa.
I know, juicy, right?
Yes.
And just having a space to talk this candidly and openly and have your questions answered. I mean, I know I've had some awkward moments in the bedroom with men when things weren't quite going how they should have. And how do you handle that? And what do you say? And what do you do? And she's just great at fielding those awkward questions. And then every month we're having another sexpert. So May is Sylvie B, and she's talking about kink and what is kink and how to broaden your kink palette and be bolder in the bedroom with kink and kind of allowing women to ask questions about it. You know, I think that there are certain fantasies that we have that we don't tell anybody about because we feel embarrassed or like, why would I want to do that? But I really want to do that. And so it's having that space to tell your girlfriends, yeah, I really want to do that. I really want to experience that. And there's no judgment and there's no like gasping, you know, and shock that, oh, you want to, you know, get tied up and spanked and whatever. I mean, it's your body, it's your fantasy, do what you want to do. And having that, you know, space to kind of be playful with it and explore and ask other women, like, have you tried this? What was this like? What do you, when you're in this situation, what have you done? Kind of what we're doing right now, but just a little more in depth. So, and then other sexperts will be coming in throughout the summer, and then we wrap in August. So again, it's every third Wednesday of the month, and it's only for the whole entire experience. It's only $19.99. That does not include the book, though. You do buy the book separately from that fee. But I didn't want to make it financially where people wouldn't be able to participate. So it's very, very affordable, and it's just a fun space to be more free and practice, kind of like this group that your friend, your colleague is starting, Roland is starting, for men to practice talking about things, you know, and it's for women to like practice saying, I like sex, I like this, I want to do this, I want to have this experience, and having it be a safe space.
With no judgment. And the $19.99 doesn't include the toys, right? They're
no. But that is the icing on the cake. So we will be having a sexpert who will be talking about toys. Her name is Nikita, and she's been on my podcast before. We did an episode called 50 Shades of Vibrations, where she talked about every vibrator under the sun and what they do for you as a solo play experience and also with a partner. So she'll be ending our Red Room experience. So everybody will be ready to buy some fun toys by August. So it's going to be great. And
is this the Red Room open to anyone, anywhere in the world?
Yes, as long as you identify as a woman. Just identify as a woman. It's through Zoom. So we have people from all over the country. We have someone from Canada.
Fantastic. All right, folks, you have the information there, and people can sign up by going to your website, which is
divorcedandhappy.net, and in the menu, you will see the Red Room. You just go to that page, and you can buy your membership.
Thank you, Sadie Marie. So before we close out this show, I'm just going to spotlight you. And for women who are in marriages right now that are not working for them, and they want to take a step forward, what would you share with them about the journey on the other side?
The journey on the other side of an unhappy marriage is an empowering life where you get to reinvent yourself, where you get to have new experiences, where you get to do a lot of healing and just really giving yourself what you need to receive first and not looking for it outside of yourself. I think for me, one thing that I've really appreciated about my divorce is that it has transformed me and how I view myself and how I value myself, and that my happiness matters. And to anyone who's in an unhappy relationship where they can't find resolution, I just want you to really value and love yourself so much. Your happiness matters, and there is a whole life waiting for you to experience that is rich and delicious. And every day isn't perfect, but you have the power to create a new life for yourself, which to me, no regrets.
It's priceless.
Mm-hmm. Happiness is pretty priceless, but it does start within. And when I'm not feeling happy, I have to reconnect with self. It's all starts here. I didn't know that when I was 20. I had no idea. I thought happiness was all these things I'd achieve, and it's not the case.
It's not the case at all. It's really what's inside. And
Mhm.
that, and like you said, we've done the work to get to where we are.
Yes.
And some people might think that that's a scary thing,
Mhm.
or it's, I don't have time for it because I'm so busy doing this, that, and the other. And
Mm.
I think one thing I would leave people with is, and I don't like that word busy. Oh, you're so busy. No, I'm not busy. I'm productive.
Mhm.
I'm forward thinking. And it's, if you don't want to do the work on yourself, you may get to a point in your life and you look back and say, wow, I never was fully authentic. I never found my passion. I never found my purpose because I was always doing, and I was, lifting up someone else in a relationship that didn't work. And now, I'm
Right.
70 years old.
And I think that also that is something that we're deeply conditioned to be. As women, we're conditioned to be givers and doers for others. And it's really important that we see that we have so much value, that we are also worthy of receiving from ourselves. I can give so many things to myself that others just can't give to me. And also I can receive things that I am just so worthy of. And divorce has really, really reinforced that for me.
Well, I'm very happy that you're happy, and I'm happy that
Oh,
you're here and that you're doing
thank you
so
for having
well.
me back.
It's a pleasure. You're welcome to come back on any of our shows and
Thank you.
keep sharing what you're sharing, and I'll connect you with Roland.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Yeah, I'll connect you on Messenger.
All right, Dr. Jacqueline, thank you again. Such a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Stay warm.
I know. Well, the sun is at least out now, hopefully melting that snow. My
I hope
goodness.
so. Well, there's warmth in your heart, that's for sure. So
Absolutely. Thank you.
thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for watching, whether you're watching on the live or on the replay. We're so happy to have you, and we appreciate every view. If you're watching over on YouTube, please do go ahead and subscribe. If you'd like to be a guest on any of our shows, go to our website, usaglobaltv.com, and just go to book your session. All right, we are logging off for right now, and we're coming back very soon in less than 15 minutes with our next show, which is the United Kitchens. And celebrity chef Ricky McKenna is cooking up something really tasty. It's a vegan meal with cauliflower and spicy salsa. So join us for that. And thank you, Mitchell, for engaging with us. And thank you, Sadie Marie, for being here. Appreciate it. And we'll see you shortly. Bye.